shame. Avoiding what's burning, walking the safer path, and the wheels, they just keep on turning. Why don't we feel it embracing us? There was a time when magic opened up our eyes. We struggle jaded in the cold every day. Why is it so hard to let love unfold and stay? Humming the same song, never writing the words, and our wheels, they keep on turning. Why don't we feel it embracing us? There was a time when magic opened up our eyes. Why don't we feel it embracing us? There was a time when magic opened up our eyes. Living on the far side of town, sharing a dream with anyone. She's made it through heaven, she's made it through hell. It's just another story to tell. Have you ever felt you're missing the dream? Have you ever wished your life was like the movie on the screen, filled with heartbreaks and fights through Hollywood nights? It's BV. It's BV. BV. It's BV. Yeah. It's BV. It's BV. BV. It's BV. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain. It's the heart of a villain. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain. It's the heart of a villain. Hey yo, heart of a villain beats hard in the centrifuge. Bearded BP, 100 interviews. All it takes is 2 mics and 1 line. This is Bearded Villains podcast worldwide. Driving cross countries, getting ball tires. Bam across ponds, always inspired. Chapters connect, and then it's on fire. Check your phone, cause BV is like a live wire. They said that we couldn't do it. From the start to the finish, go hard and we winning. It's the heart of a villain. It's the heart of a villain.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition, a Friday night edition of The Heart of a Villain, the podcast and live stream devoted to the Bearded Villains Worldwide Brotherhood. Hey, guys, Friday night, we are back on a Friday night, just temporarily. Just temporarily. Hey, this is March 8th. It's already March 8th, and this is episode 206 of The Heart of a Villain. Guys, yeah. It's been a week. It's been a week, and lots of fun. And I thank you all for being here. I had a little transition from last night because the original intent obviously was to continue the Thursday night shows. And then I started looking at the schedule for the weekend with the family and all, and realized that Thursday night was basically going to be the night when everybody was going to be around, as opposed to tonight and tomorrow night. So I decided to take the Grandmaster pivot and say, hey, we're going to pivot this thing and move it to tomorrow night. So Friday night. And I got to stay home, do some family stuff last night. So that was what that was all about. And I know that there's some people probably that decided not to stick around for watching tonight. And that's okay. That's okay. We get that. People can watch on the replay or listen to it later on a standard podcast platform. That's totally up to them. But I want to say hello and howdy to those that are here in the comments section live with us here on YouTube tonight. I have to say hello there to, and we'll bring him in here. Hello to Rob. Rob says his traditional good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or is it a good one? Let's discuss. Yes, we're gonna have some good thoughts here, and I know Rob's always one for giving the deep conversation and facing some. You know, he's always a deep thinker and comes up with some hard truth answers a lot of times. So look forward to the conversation tonight. Good evening, buddy. How you doing? Good to see you here. Chris is here with us as well. How you doing, Chris? Good to see you here as well. Papa is hanging out with us tonight. Sup, he says. Sup. Good to see you. Good to see you guys. Shifty's hanging out with us as well. Says, good evening, fellas. Hope you're all having a fantastic Friday. We are. Well, at least I am so far. Well, I hope everybody else is too. It's been this has been a really fast week, I think, at least on my end of things. It's, I will say weeks go by much quicker now that I'm back to work. I can honestly say, now that I'm working full time again, it's like, wow, where did each day go? Where did the weeks go? And I find myself squeezing in time now to to find time to work on content for this program. And it's a lot of fun, but it's also it's sometimes a little bit stressful because I realize, oh, it's Tuesday night and I got to get to work. So, but what are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's all fun. And this podcast to me it's a release. It's fun for me. And like I said, I don't care. I'll do it for myself. I'll just sit here and talk in front of a microphone on camera for myself and just have some fun. So, hey, for anybody out there that's taking part in a Friday night or weekend ritual, cheers to you if you are. Cheers. Cheers. This episode brought to you by Buffalo Trace. No, I'm just kidding. Boy, do I wish we could get them as a sponsor. Wouldn't that be nice? You know what? Any good whiskey company, I'll take it. I'll take it. Any good whiskey company. If you know anybody, if you have any ins, outs, or whatever, whatever, I'll take a good whiskey company to help sponsor this thing. Or for that matter, if it's a good tequila company, or heck, even a good, yeah, that'll do it. That'll be it. So tonight, get your thinking caps on, guys. For this episode 206, I want to ask the question, and I want to spur this on, and I think my hope is that this will become a 2-part episode, because I want to pose the question tonight and start answering some of those hard truth questions, because I know there's a lot of different ways that we can answer this. But I've noticed that obviously we had a rough year in 2020, as you know, and everything was shut down. But once everything opened back up, for like 1 year, it seemed like everything was just booming as far as villain events go. Guys were everywhere. Guys were traveling everywhere. We saw people all over the place. We saw people we hadn't seen in a couple of years out and about. And that lasted for about a year. And it seemed like so many of our events, especially the staple events, the ones that are regional BV events, the big ones, and even some of the smaller ones that popped up, seemed like all of a sudden, the numbers were really big, really, really high in some of these areas for some of these events. And you felt really good about the future of this event, that event, whatever it is, and all the charities that they're benefiting with it. And then, slowly but surely over the last couple of years, it seems the numbers everywhere have been down. And I think back to, I don't want to be in the habit of calling out specific meets, because I don't want to make it sound like I'm attacking a specific meetup, but because I think it's everywhere. I think any event that I have been to, that I have traveled to in the last 2 years, the numbers have been down from what they were the previous couple of years, going back even back into 2018, 2019. And so I don't know what that really is. I have a few ideas, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But I want to open this up to a dialogue, because I think that once this gets out after this show tonight, I want to hear what people's answers are. I want to hear what specific reasons are, because I think part of it is personal. I think part of it is going to come down to different guys, different brothers, individual reasons why they, and I think for some it's going to be a very personal answer. Otherwise, I think there may be some other things that come down to financial or otherwise. But I'm just curious to see where this conversation takes us, because it seems like we were here, and obviously COVID's going to, but post-COVID, things got really high back up again with their numbers and everything. And I thought, hey, we're back. And then it's just gradually diminished and diminished and diminished. So we'll talk about that in just a few minutes. I want to prep some answers and get some feedback on that, and see, those that are here listening to us either in a standard podcast platform can come back to us next week with some answers, what they think. If you're listening to us live right now, maybe you want to jump into the chat box if you're not in there right now, and leave us some answers, because I think everybody that's been in BV, even if you're not as active as you once were, I think everybody that's a part of BV in some way, shape, or form over the last several years has a reason, has an answer to this. And I'm just curious what we, and maybe they've heard of others coming up with reasons, and it's something that they just, there's a reason there, and we just didn't know about it. So I'm just curious. I'd love to hear this this part of a conversation. So that's where I want to take this in just a little bit. So hard questions with hard truth answers is kind of where we're at. So this week I do want to give a shout out to Bearded Villains Pikes Peak, because they did reach out to me, and I've told you this. I've asked for if you have anything merch wise or whatnot, specifically because you're doing some charity work or whatever else. And they were one that reached out to me this week for actually right after the podcast last week. Unfortunately, I couldn't get it on for last week, but they reached out and wanted to share a new patch that they have out. And so I want to share this. And and just get word out. Now, unfortunately, they don't have a specific that I saw a chapter merch page or merch store. If you do, Pikes Peak boys, please update me and let me know, because I would love to be able to just turn people over to a store, about where they can go and get this thing. So often, if we don't, my experience is if we don't have a store to go to, it's very difficult to get the sheer numbers that we would hope for purchasing. But maybe you do have a store and I just don't know about it. I've been looking at your posts and whatnot, and I've seen a PayPal link, but I haven't seen any posts that have an actual store front per se on them. So what I want to give a shout out to is BV Pikes Peak. They have a new patch. It's really cool, purple and green, just bold colors, and it's a National Kidney Foundation patch. Now they have a tie-in to this. One of their brothers is I believe a transplant recipient many years ago, and so there is a personal tie-in to the chapter with this. But these patches are $12, and the proceeds benefit the National Kidney Foundation. Now they do have a PayPal. If you go to their page, and unfortunately it's one of those weird PayPal things that's like lots of different figures in it, and it would be hard for me I couldn't put a link on this page that you could use. So what I want to tell you to do is go over to Bearded Villains Pikes Peak Instagram page. They've posted it a few different times here. So in each one of their posts, they have the link in there. So if you want to help the guys out, and please do, obviously for a great cause, National Kidney Foundation, and you get a really cool patch that's super bold. So hit them up, $12, not a bad price for a patch these days at all. And you're helping something out, you're helping a chapter out. So get over there to Pikes Peak Instagram page and grab one of those patches, please. All right. So that's the only merch thing that I have tonight. I hope I didn't miss anybody that sent me anything. If I did, hit me up and I will apologize, and I will get it on for next week for sure. But I try to organize things so that when somebody sends me something, I immediately put it into a folder for myself. So if that's the case, I'm sorry. Also, a big shout out. I got to give a shout out here to Maddie and the Bearded Villains Okanagan boys up north. The Okanagan boys. I get to finally wear my shirt. I've had it packed away and I couldn't find it. I got it in several weeks ago from them. Really cool shirt, and I wish I could stand up and show you the back of it, but you've seen it on their chapter page. But I finally got this thing in a few weeks back. Love this shirt. And I wore it once, and then I tucked it away so I wouldn't lose it, and then I couldn't find it for a couple of weeks. So I found it today, so I had to wear it tonight. But unfortunately, on the camera, it really doesn't show up much. But yeah, it is what it is. Shout out to the Okanagan boys up north. So there's another merch thing, too. Coming up in our Villains Around the World segment in just a minute, we have several, I want to say like 7 chapters we're going to be discussing. Very, very cool stuff. This is my favorite part of the podcast now, where I can actually talk about the big, small, medium size, all the really cool stuff that our chapters are doing. And what really excites me now is that there's chapters that now are starting to hear about this segment, and they're sending me stuff without me having to ask, which I love. There's others that I had to reach out to, and because I saw their post that they did something, and I'm like, hey, can you tell me a little more about this? I will say this. When you guys are out there and you're posting things about your chapter, don't just post a picture and say, hey, we did this. Give us a little bit of context, right? I mean, give us a little bit of context about what it is you're doing and why you're doing it, who it's for, all that stuff. That always cracks me up. And, it's kind of like the chapters that will go out of their way to create a flyer or a poster or something like that for an event. And then they forget to say on the event poster where it's happening. Or they forget to say the date that it's happening. And there's been so many times already, just in the last like 6-8 months, where somebody's doing something and I see a post and I'm like, hey, when is that? Oh, we forgot to put that on the flyer. Or I'm like, hey, where is that again? Because you don't have the location. So do us all a favor and put something out there and let us know where these things are at. But we'd love to support you. And I would love to support you on the show for sure. You gotta work with me a little bit here and tell me where things are. So, earlier this week, and oof, yeah, I was shocked to see the post that came through earlier this week, and that we lost a brother out east, and he was one of the founding members of the New York Upstate chapter, I believe. And I've had several conversations over the years with Mike, Mike _Giants _superfan. Passed away this week, and if you know him, you knew that he's been struggling health wise, up and down over the last several years, and he and I've had several conversations from the aspect of first responder stuff, and we've had some interesting conversations over the years about that and our experiences. But there was a particularly interesting, in-depth conversation that he and I had about a year and a half, 2 years ago, that hovered around the events of 9/11. And he told me that he was worked as a medic EMT, not sure what his actual title was there, but he was working the areas of Ground Zero following the attacks of 9/11. And knowing that I was a former officer, and I explained to him my tie-in to how there was a group of us here in Indiana that were trying to get over there to help out. And unfortunately, our chief at the time would not let us have the time off and wouldn't let us go. And boy, it's one of those things now. You hear the stories of all of the first responders and the people that worked the pile, that worked 9/11, the aftermath, and the sicknesses that they endured as a result of the time that they spent there. And I guess it's one of those things where you'll never know. You'll never know what, if there is a direct tie into it, but it's just too coincidental. And so our conversation led to him offering up to send me a patch that he had, and it sits right up here, right up there on my shelf, and you can kind of see it right, if I can arrow up, right there. Yep, right there. It's a frame patch, and he pulled that off of one of his shirts that he was wearing at Ground Zero when he was doing the work, and he sent that to me. And I didn't know what to say, so I thanked him so much for that, and just for what it meant to him and what it meant in general. So I know he was so much more than that, and I know he had his battles that he was fighting, and as a founding member of BV New York Upstate, just say rest in peace, and condolences to all the guys in New York that knew him, every one of the BV brothers that did know him well, knew him better than I did. All the brothers, all the family members of his, we're thinking of you this week. So rest in peace, Mike, and hope you're feeling better now. Okay. I had to get that out. Had to talk about that. When I saw that last week or this week, I was surprised. It's one of those, I haven't talked to him in a long time, and then boom, all of a sudden. And you hate to think of things like that. Well, I say that you hate to think about things like this at a time like this, but when else do you think about these things? When else do you think about, oh, I haven't seen this person in a while? It's when these things happen. It's when somebody passes away that we think about, hey, I haven't. And you hear people say, reach out to the people you haven't seen in a long time. Don't lose contact with all these people. Hey, check on your people. All this stuff. You hear this, and it's usually after something has happened to somebody. It's usually after somebody passes away, and that you realize, wow, it's been how long since I've talked to them? It's been how long since I've spoken with them, and and how long have I seen them? And it doesn't matter, BV is such a huge thing. It's so wide. The reach that is huge. There are people that you may never meet in person, but you talk to them weekly, either on a chat or on a video call. There's people that you see that you feel like you really know really well, but you may have never met them in person. And because the reach of BV is what it is, because it's a worldwide brotherhood, when somebody passes away, it's a gut punch. It's a gut punch, even if you haven't met them in person. If you've had some kind of relationship with them and shared and had conversations and had some of those brotherhood convos with them. And it's rough. So what it's just a reminder again for all of us, I think, that time is short, and make sure that you're spending time making memories and taking time to appreciate the time that you have and appreciate the conversations that you have with each one of your brothers out there. And don't wait for another meet. Don't wait for this annual event that you'll probably always see this person at. Don't wait for that to happen. Talk to them. Reach out to them this week. Say, hey, just wanted to check in on you. Just checking on somebody. Well, the time has come for us to do our new segment that we're going to call, we know what it's called. It's called Villains Around the World. So, hey, let's get into it. Okay, this is Villains Around the World. And if you've been paying attention, this is one of the segments that we've got going that we're going to be talking about some of the cool, the interesting, or just some of just the normal stuff that our villain chapters are out there doing, making a difference in the world. So let's get right into it. What do you say? The Bearded Villains Bogota. Now, I mentioned this last week, and I finally got the details on this. The Bearded Villains Bogota chapter has a strong presence in social work. All the brothers in the chapter are united in order to change the lives of 14 girls from a foundation. These girls who have had several rights violated. Bearded Villains Bogota have been involved in social work for several years and are getting stronger in every chance they get to make a difference. Every month, they try to meet several fundamental and basic needs of people in the community. Each chapter brother commits and donates financially what he can to further the cause, utilizing a list of needs from their own resources. Congrats to BV Bogota for making a difference in their community. That's great to see. Bearded Villains Houston this past Sunday. The Bearded Villains Houston chapter participated in a dog and car wash benefiting SPCA of Brazoria County, hosted by Benefit Betties, a nonprofit established in 2011. BV Houston showed up in a big way, as they always do, arriving with donations for SPCA Brazoria County, and also with had a lot of fun washing many vehicles and even some dogs. At the end of the day, BV Houston raised over $600 for animals that need help. Brett Trevino, the captain of BV Houston, said the customers that stopped for a wash were extremely grateful that we were there with a cause and determination. There's no better way to spend a Sunday than with family and friends raising money for a good cause. BV Houston would like to thank Benefits Betties for inviting them out to raise funds for the SPCA of Brazoria County. Congrats, guys. Good to see it. Love hearing about this. Bearded Villains Indiana. This past weekend, Bearded Villains Indiana took part in their annual polar plunge at Eagle Creek Park. For the third year in a row, Bearded Villains Indiana had the privilege of escorting Allie into the water. Allie, who is a super plunger, raised $10,000 herself for Special Olympics. And Bearded Villains Indiana was honored to be able to assist Allie into the water. As you can see from these pictures, Allie is in a wheelchair, and they assisted her into the water as a super plunger so that she can get and take part actively in the Polar Plunge at Eagle Creek. Congratulations, Bearded Villains Indiana, on an awesome event. 3 years in a row helping Allie out. That's great to see. Bearded Villains Chicago. This past Sunday, March 3rd, marked the largest Chicago Polar Plunge in the history of the organization, with over 5,300 plungers. The Bearded Villains Chicago went to battle on Sunday, conquering their fear and braving the icy waters of Lake Michigan. When it was all done, Bearded Villains Chicago raised nearly $7,000 for Special Olympics Chicago. BVC would like to thank all of their supporters who helped make this happen. Co-captain of the BVC, Optimus Mendez, said, "Thanks to our supporters, we surpassed a collective of $2 million. He went on to state that next year they hope to surpass $10,000 again. Congratulations, BVC, on an awesome polar plunge. And I love seeing these guys when they get in the water because they dress up as Vikings and they've got the flags a-waving, and it's just a big spectacle, and it's just fun to see. So congratulations, BVC, on another great polar plunge. Bearded Villains Queensland. We're going down under now. On Saturday, BV Queensland partnered with Beyond Dental Care for Clean Up Australia Day. They spent 2 hours at a local sports club and a park doing their part to clean up the local area. The event, Clean Up Australia, inspires and mobilizes communities to improve and conserve the environment, eliminate litter, and end waste. After more than 3 decades, Clean Up Australia has evolved to provide practical solutions to help all Australians live more sustainably every day of the year. Congratulations, boys, down in Queensland. Great to see it. Great to see it. Next up, Bearded Villains Jacksonville. This past Sunday, Bearded Villains of Jacksonville partnered with a friend of theirs, Monster, and his MC, the Monster Nolo Riders, met in downtown Jacksonville, Florida, for a homeless handout. During this handout, they handed out clothing, personal hygiene items, shoes, and food. Beardedville in Jacksonville has recently taken over the responsibility of handing out the food. BV Jacksonville raised funds to purchase the food and cook for over 200 homeless people in need. The brothers, assisted by their wives, cooked and then distributed the chicken, beans, rice, and cobbler. In addition to the food, BV Jacksonville, the brothers with BV Jacksonville assisted Monster with the setup and the teardown of the event, as well as handing out general purpose items. BV Jacksonville is dedicated to ensuring the success of this event every first Sunday of the month. And they will ask everyone to stay tuned for future fundraisers to help them in this endeavor. Congratulations, Jacksonville. Looked like a really good event. And anytime you can partner with others in the community to do something cool, that's the way to spend your time. So congrats, BV Jacksonville. And then finally, we talked about them a week ago. The upcoming that we talked about was Nash Vegas. And Nash Vegas is come and gone, Nash Vegas 8. But we have an update for you on Nash Vegas. This past weekend, the 3-Star Villains hosted over 15 chapters from all over for the 8th annual Nash Vegas event in Nashville, Tennessee. They were able to raise over $8,900 for the Adult Congenital Heart Association for their Heart Walk donation in April. The event consisted of several gatherings, a beard competition, and additional raffles. 3-Star Villains have reopened their pre-sale for the Nash Vegas event t-shirts for those who may have missed out on the first time. Also, the proceeds from the merch sales from the website until the Heart Walk on April 6th will be going to the donation. They hope that they can reach a total donation of over $10,000. If you would like to make a purchase to help them out, please go to the 3starvillains.bigcartel.com. 3starvillains.bigcartel.com to help get to $10,000. And guys, hey, that's going to wrap up Villains of the World. Villains around the world, rather. I'm still getting used to it. But I love what we're doing here. I love being able to share what all of our chapters literally around the world are doing and doing well in their communities for charity. So thank you guys very much. Well, that's a fun segment. I love doing that. I love doing that. Not only because it makes me feel a little bit like a news reporter, but it's fun because it's just fun to deep dive into some of the cool things that the chapters out there are doing. And so I'm very grateful for all of you who do share what you're doing. If you hear about somebody else doing something and you think they may not want to be shareful of it, shareful? Is shareful a word? Sharing of it? Reach out to me and we'll see what we can do. We got to get the word out on some of these chapters that are all behind the scenes, right? That's what we got to do. Well, so the tough questions. We've got to ask it, right? What is it? What do we think is a reason or reasons why we are struggling in certain areas? And it's not for me. And here's where I've noticed what I've noticed is that it's not always about numbers, right? And I've talked about this several times before here, that the numbers of the attendees at an event, they have an effect financially on the event for sure. But do they have an effect truly on what the event does for you as a brother, as an individual? Does it have an impact on how you look at the event? Do the numbers have an effect on how you walk away from the event feeling that it did good, that you feeling confident that you did something, or that it was a good event, that you got something out of it, be it brotherhood, be it feeling like you donated to charity? The numbers usually don't matter for that. As I've said before, personally, I have felt that some of the most fun I have from a brotherhood side of things, not a financial side, but from a brotherhood side, have been some of the ones that were the smaller events, because it affords you the opportunity without feeling like you're obligated to talk to everybody for 15 seconds here, there, 20 seconds here, there. But the smaller events, you feel like you can actually sit down and have meaningful conversations for 15, 20, 30 minutes with 2 or 3 people at a time. And those are the ones you walk away from going, yeah, those are the ones that really build up your soul a little bit and just make you feel something different about this brotherhood. And the ones that are super duper huge, you feel like you got to go say hi to this guy over here. You got to go say hi to this guy over here. And if you don't go say hi to this guy over here in the first 25 minutes or something like that, he's going to hunt you down and be like, why ain't you talking to me? And then there's other people that are going to be smart ass about saying things, the same thing. And it's this constant flow of jumping around from spot to person to person. And it feels like that sometimes. But there's a flip side, right? Because those events that have that many people at it are the ones that typically you may bring in more money for the charity. So yeah, there's 2 sides to that coin. So I think we have to look at it from both sides. Is it the brotherhood aspect that you're longing for when you go to these events, or is it the being able to give back for charity? And where does that balance happen? Right? Because you can do charity work wherever. And what I think part of what it comes down to is what each individual person feels like they want to get out of going to an event. You're traveling. You're taking time away from your regular life. You're taking time away from work in some cases. You're taking time away from other family members or other things that you could be doing, other interests, other hobbies, to go travel for some of these events. And so you feel like there needs to be an exchange. I need to feel like it was worth it, right? It needs to feel like why am I going if not for that? If the event weekend ends and it's a Sunday and I'm going back home and I'm driving back home or I'm flying back home and I'm not feeling very fulfilled and I'm feeling like, that just wasn't what I hoped it would be, then you start to second guess yourself and you start to wonder, is this something that I want to go back to? Is this something that I'm really going to push for? Is this something that I really want to make sure is, on my schedule? Because the sad truth of it is there's now so many events that we could go to. I know at least here in the States, And I think from what I've seen, like over in England, they have a bunch now too that are all over the place. And much in the same way that me being here in the Midwest, I can go to within, say, 8 to 10 hour drive. I can hit up several different chapters events within 8 to 10 hour drive. Much in the same way I can do that, I think many of the people in England and Europe can do the same thing over there, because 8 to 10 hours is driving through several countries over there, some cases. But I think that the distance plays into it, right? Because you only have so many weekends in a year that you have time to go. Between everything else that you're doing in your life, all the other interests, all the other family obligations, all the other, you only have a handful of weekends that you can really go and truly travel for a weekend. Now, there's some places that we can go to, for a day. We can make it there and back in a day. Okay, that's just a day spent. But the ones where you have to travel and you're there for a weekend, that's an expense, both financially and an expense of your time. And so we only have so many of those to go to a year that we can, and each person's different. Everybody's schedule's different. Some people don't work Monday through Friday, right? And so to go to a weekend event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they have to take time off work. If they don't work Monday through Friday, or they have to take a Friday off in order to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, if they want. Or they feel cramped because they have to travel all day on Saturday to get where they're going to get, and then the event and everything else. And then they need a day to recover from it after that. So there's so much that goes into this, but I'm interested to have this discussion because I want to know why, in some regards, that the numbers, even the numbers at some of the largest events that we have had statistically, historically, have been down. But aside from that, even some of the other events that you see that you know were well attended, that may have just been a local or somewhat regional event, those have been down. So, and I think there's so many different things that come into play. There really does. There's so many different things that to come into play with this. So I just want to. There are some people that do have some interesting responses here, and I have to, of course, bring some of them up for sure. Rob's got some good points here. He says he has some thoughts. Number one, cost, oversaturation, ego over brotherhood. That's a tough one. Lack of visible impact. Wow. You can always count on Rob. You can always count on Rob to give you an intelligent, well thought out answer. It continued. Lack of inclusion. Unwillingness to address inappropriate behavior. Now that's a scary one. That's a really scary one. And I've heard of a few situations, and I know of at least one that I know he's directly talking about. And yeah, inappropriate behavior is one that shouldn't even be something that you have to list. That's not something that even should be considered, right? That one is, your brothers. And like anything else, you should be able to hold your brothers accountable. And I know in my chapter, and everybody that knows me well knows, that's something I firmly believe in. And you will be held accountable, as I expect you to hold me accountable to stuff. And if I'm doing something stupid, call me on it, just as I will do for you. And you can't tolerate ungentlemanly behavior. You can't tolerate at these events. You can't tolerate things that will put BV or your chapter in a bad light. So inappropriate behavior is an absolute. But the other stuff, and I would hope that the inappropriate or the behavior of one wouldn't turn many others off from going to an event, unless it's not addressed and the hosting chapter then decides that it's just not a big deal and moving forward there's no repercussions for it. Then I can see why people may not want to go there again. But there's so many different reasons and examples, I think, that Rob pointed out there, for sure. he went on further to say, we need to go back to where we started. Drop the showboating, and I believe he's meaning over the top meets. Back to brotherhood and charity. Yeah, there's something to be said for that for sure. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. But I will say, some of the overtop, when you say over the top events here in Northern Indiana, we have a little thing called Return of Ezra Crow, and some would say over the top because we have a beard competition, costume contest. We added a tattoo contest to it as well. It's a very carnival-esque atmosphere, but it is over the top in some way, but it's very fun, very fitting, and for the event and for the thing that we do, I can't imagine us changing that for the world. But one of the things that we make sure that we do with that is make it very inclusive, I feel. And so it's very important for us to do that. Absolutely, to do that for everybody. But I just let me checking the notes here to see if anybody else has come up with anything else regarding this. Yeah, Rob says, yeah, it's 8 hours across Europe. That's it. Well, I could get across Europe in the time it takes me to get to Pennsylvania, part of Pennsylvania anyway. So, but yeah, it's. I think it's. There's I don't know that there's really a surefire reason, because in some regards it could be financial, right? The economy's not great for many people right now. And I know there's people that have been fighting for keeping steady employment. And the cost of stuff has gone up. And so that's more difficult for some people because you add that in. But the cost to travel has gone up. And it's that alone makes it hard. So financial is obviously, I mean, I think that's first and foremost a very obvious answer. And I get that. I'm asking myself also, could it be that it's because the numbers are down? Meaning the numbers of brothers. And on one hand, I think it's easy to say that, but then you look around. You really look around, and you see all of these brothers out there that you've known, if you've been around BV for more than, I'll say 3 to 4 years, at least 3 to 4 years, then you've seen the numbers, and you've seen brothers who did travel, who traveled frequently, who don't anymore, or don't as much. And those are the ones those are the ones I'm curious about. Those are the ones I want to hear from. Specific, I mean, not only, but just I'm just curious, because I don't think it's a matter of numbers being down. I really don't. And I don't think it's a matter of just people don't travel, because we've always had. But I look around the BV landscape and I see many of the guys that I used to see at these events, and they're not there now. They're not traveling anymore. And they only go to one event a year. And usually if they go to one event, it's something really close. And that makes me wonder, is it financial? Or is it something more? Is there more to it? Is it some of the same old type of thing? I know Rob kind of alluded to that. Have we done too much? Oversaturation, I think, is a good possible what Rob said. When you talk about, is it the same old? Yes. 80% at least of what we go to are beard competition events. That's the sad truth. That's how it is. But I think one of the ways, and this is something that we had to do. This is something my chapter had to do here in Northern Indiana. We thought about it. We brainstormed, and we realized that both from seeing the BV landscape where it is over the last, and just it's been a progressive thing with us, but seeing where it's at and seeing the numbers the way they are and hearing from not only our guys, myself, my experiences, Ed, my co-captain, he and I have had long conversations about traveling to events and seeing stuff, and seeing where how things are run and what's going on at different events. But I think there's a thing out there where we have to pivot a little bit. And do we always have to have a beard comp? I don't think so. That's one of the reasons why we pivoted and added a few things to it. And now here in Northern Indiana at Return of Ezra Crow, the beard comp is there, but it's only one piece of the event. And we wanted to do just that. One of the things that I absolutely loved, and I know I've talked about this before on the show, one of the things I loved about going over to England was the difference in the way that they take care of a beard competition over there versus how we do here. Over there, many times, it's just this thing that happens at an event. They don't even, in many cases, it's not front and center. It's like off to the side somewhere. Anybody wants to participate in this, and it's so low key, you wouldn't even know that it's happening. And they don't really even charge a lot for it, if they even charge for it, because they've charged for the event itself. And they just, this is just one part of a thing that happens at the event. But I think that we can get creative by following examples of other chapters, of other brothers that are out there. Don't be afraid to look around the landscape of BV and see what somebody else is doing. And maybe take something from this and take something from that and realize, how could we apply this to us? We don't have to have a beard competition, but what can we do? And if we can just have an event where guys just hang out, but we can have it done in such a fun way that it reminds guys of brotherhood. It brings them closer. It allows people to have those conversations that we love to have. And people can walk away nourished from the brotherhood and feel like they got something out of it. I think that's one of the most important things that we can do. But there is something to that. Guys get tired. I've had conversations, and I've said before, my least favorite part of any one of these events that I go to is the beard competition. And that's our event included that we host. But it's not the beard competition. You go to the beard competition because you take part in it because you know that's part of the charity work, and that's great. Fine. But it's being able to see the brothers and talk to the brothers while you're there for the beard comp thing, right? I think to me that's it. That's where it's at. So I want to kind of encourage all the guys out there that you don't have to be down on the fact that a chapter's doing a beard competition. Just roll your eyes. Oh, another beard competition. Yeah, it is. But it's up to you to make it that. It's up to you to make it more than that. You don't have to just wallow in the misery of attending a beard competition. If you're sitting at a table the entire time, I've seen this happen. Guys bitch and moan about it only being a beard competition, blah, blah, blah. And then they just sit and they bitch and moan during the event or after the event about, I just hate beard. I'm just so tired of beard competitions. Blah, blah, blah. Well, do something about it. Get your ass up off that table and go mingle. Go talk to people. Walk around. I've been to places where guys are so busy talking with brothers, mingling around, their number gets called and they're nowhere near the stage. There's times when guys are outside having conversations, they have to be yelled to come back in. That's what's awesome. That's what we love to see. I don't want to be in a room full of people at a beard competition that everybody's just stoically sitting at a table talking with 2 or 3 people at their table. It's just, everybody's in their own little bubble, hanging out with their own chapter guys. You know how I feel about that. Why go to these events if you're going to only hang out with the people that brought you, the people that you see all the time? Or is it something more? Or is it something more? See, for me, I think it's a little bit of financial. I think it's a little bit of same old, same old. I think it's a little bit of maybe oversaturation. I think it's a little bit of many, many, many different factors. But I think for me, what it comes down to, most importantly, is a general lack of support. And it's sad that I feel that has to be a thing. But when I say lack of support, what I mean is, just a quick backstory with us, with our chapter. When we started our chapter, we sat down and we created bylaws. And in those bylaws, we said, because we had been with an active chapter and we had been to several different events around the country, seeing the good, bad, and ugly with BV, with active chapters, with inactive chapters. We'd seen guys travel. We'd seen all of it. And what we realized right out of the gate, and what we said we had to do, was support those who support us, right? We support, that is a absolute with us in Northern Indiana. We support those who support us. And does that mean that we will be able to roll out our entire chapter to every event for guys that bring chapter members to our event? No, it does not. Does it mean that we'll always be able to bring 10? No. But we're going to bring somebody. We're going to find a way. And as part of that, we actually wrote it into our bylaws that if you wanted to be a captain or a co-captain, you have to be willing to travel, because you are the face of the chapter to represent to everywhere else. At least that. We want everybody to be a face of the chapter, but not everybody's able. So we don't, not that we pay for it or anything else, but you have to be willing, as a chapter captain with our chapter, you have to be willing to make X number of meets a year outside of your own. It's in there. And we wrote it in there for that very reason, so that we help represent the chapter and we help support those who support us. So part of what that is sometimes I think you'll have to make decisions. And you want to be able to support chapters that come to support you. But there's another side of that. There's another side of that. And it's an ugly side. It really is. And it's this. We have a lot of brothers out there that have, for whatever reason, and they're in leadership roles. Some are captains, some are co-captains, some are just in the officers' corps or whatever they have in their chapter. And they never travel. They never go anywhere. And they get mad when they have something and other people don't come to travel to their event. As if just the sheer fact that you're hosting an event is supposed to bring people in. And it's a hard, hard truth. It really is. Because you want to say on one hand that brothers support brothers. But yes, I get that. But when you're numbered, when your weekends are numbered, when you only have so much to go, when you only have so many times that you could possibly get out during the year, You want to support those who support you. And I'm tired of hearing people bitch and moan about the fact that nobody supports us. Well, when was the last time you went anywhere? When was the last time you drove 8 hours to go to an event? When was the last time? You can't expect somebody else, you can't expect other chapters to come rolling in deep at your place when you don't go to them. You can't. There's going to be a time where the fact that you have a cool event is not enough. There's going to be a time when it's not worth the 8-hour, 10-hour, 12-hour, 4-hour drive. Because I know that you're not going to turn around and support us. And it sounds selfish to think that way, but with so many events out there, with so many to choose from, we're coming into, and the reason I want to bring this up now is because we're coming into spring, and this is the start of it, right? This is the kind of the busy, getting ready for the busy roll in for every year, and things are starting to go, and at least 2, maybe 3, 4 times a month now until the end of the year, there's going to be a BV event somewhere, almost. And there's some months where it's every week. And then you lump on top of that the fact that I would love to see guys supporting other beard clubs. And you put that on top of it, and that means every week, literally every week, some beard club is doing something somewhere. But even if you limit it only to bearded villain events, there's so many out there that you have to pick and choose from. Why are you going to go out of your way to go support chapters that don't support you? And like I said, I get that doesn't sound, that sounds harsh. I get it. But when you only can go to 4 events a year, right? You know, are you going to spend the time to make one of those 4 events to a chapter that you know not a single person from that chapter has ever been to your place? It's got to start somewhere. It's got to start somewhere. You can't just go, the excuse to say, well, they don't come to us, so I'm not going to them. You got to try it once. That's the thing I'll say. And that's the reason why when we started out the chapter, when Bearded Villains Northern Indiana started, I'll tell you, that's what we said. We set out from day one and we said, we're going to support as many places as we can. And it's kind of like throwing that fishing line out, right? And we want to support, because we had that same mentality. We had that same thought that, hey, support those who support you. We know that we'll get it back in return, and we're going to go support this. We're going to support that. We're going to go here or there. And so we spent the first 3 years so far of our existence doing just that. And then you start to look around the landscape a little bit, and you're like, 3 years now, maybe longer. Back when we were part of another chapter, we went over and supported this chapter. We went over and supported this chapter. There are events that I've been to, and I've been a part now of BV for 7 years now. There are events that I've been to, both representing my chapter and representing prior to this, Bearded Villains Indiana. There are events that I've been to consistently, year after year after year. And I can honestly say that host chapter, not a single member of that host chapter from whatever event, and there's more than one event that I'm thinking of, not a single member from those chapters has ever visited my state for a BV event, to my knowledge, as long as I've been a villain. Not a single member. And I'm talking about more than one chapter. Not when I was with BVIN and not now as BVNI. You have to support those who support you. It's just a fundamental thing, right? And no, you may not always be able to reciprocate equally. If 10 guys come to your event, you may not be able to send 10 to their event. You may only be able to send 5. But you need to be there. You need to make an attempt to show, hey, we brought what we could. Oh, and by the way, you have a raffle. Here's some stuff. We want to support your thing. Here's a couple things that we know we can help out with. Throw it into your raffle. There are several chapters out there that now that have merch stores. And they're on demand. How hard would it be to make a custom thing, a one-of-one thing to take with you to donate to a chapter? There's ways that you can help out. You don't have to bring 15 guys. If you can only bring 1 or 2, great, you're bringing somebody. And you can come in with maybe bring something to help them out. Support those who support you. I think that's one of the biggest, most important things right now, is that we've seen over the last year and a half a decrease in some of the people that would have traveled, that did travel consistently. We've seen a decrease in it. We've seen less of a desire by people that are 1 and 2 years in, for whatever reason, wanting to travel. And I know that there's a contingent that want to travel but financially can't. I get that part of it. But I don't understand why we can't get out there and support each other physically. Be there for them. Help support. And please, please, please stop expecting everybody to come support you when you don't ever leave your chapter. If you don't ever visit another chapter, don't expect them to come to you. Be surprised and happy when they do, but don't get angry when they don't. It's the way of things. Maybe it's something else. Maybe there's another reason. I'm curious. If anybody else has any other suggestions as to why. Cheers, everybody. I've been talking a long time. Well, I thank everybody who's been here in the comment section, keeping things lively. It's been really good to see. I love the conversations that happen here in this chat. But guys, I want to continue this conversation, and so I look forward to, if you're listening to this on a podcast platform, or if you're listening to this now live, and you didn't have a chance to chime something into the chat, or you didn't want to, you just want to anonymously send me something, great. Shoot me a message and let me know. I'm curious about all points of view. And even if you tell me, BP, you are way off on this, here's what I think. Great. I welcome it. I ain't the smartest guy in the world. I just say what I feel. But I'm curious what you feel. I love these conversations. I want to hear from everybody else. If you're not traveling and you used to, I want to know why. Are there specific reasons? Are you just kind of over it? If you feel like you're just kind of over it, my response to that is, I get it, but I think it's up to us. And I don't care if I don't care if it's not my event. Every single event that I go to for somebody else or for our chapter, every single event I go to, I don't expect them to be responsible for my good time. I don't expect that chapter or that event or the organizers of that event, I don't expect them to be responsible for what I get out of that event. All I'm going to do is pivot and find a way through that weekend. Excuse me. I'm going to find my own way. I'm going to find a way to make it memorable. I'm going to find a way to make it worthwhile. That's what I've learned over the last couple of years. And ever since I've done that, I've not walked away from a single event that I've gone to and felt like it wasn't worthwhile. If you're starting to feel like you're starting to question, why am I here? Then go out and talk to somebody. Go out of your way and go sit there and have a conversation with somebody that you don't normally have a person-to-person conversation with. Don't sit back at a table or in the corner of a room all by yourself or just with the people that you hang out with all the time in your chapter and then walk away from an event and say, I didn't get anything out of it. That event just was terrible. I wish I could have spent my time better elsewhere. It's up to you. It's up to you to make it what you need to make it. You've been around life long enough that you know what it is you need, right? And if you're perfectly content going someplace and kind of staying back by yourself and you just a people person that just a people watcher kind of person and you're just going to do that and that makes you content, then do that. Then do that. But don't put yourself in a position that you're going to be driving home or flying home on a Sunday afternoon thinking to yourself, I shouldn't have probably gone to that. That wasn't worth it. That's what I hate to hear. Because if I knew that was going to be the way that you felt about it, I would have been up there shaking on your shoulders, shaking you, saying, find a way to make this fun for yourself. Right? Because if you can't, then maybe you shouldn't go. This is supposed to be fun. And I hear that as an excuse a lot now. The last couple of years, everybody bring back the fun. BV's supposed to be, it's a beer club. It's supposed to be fun. And it's not anymore. Well, why isn't it? It's because you're not doing it. Don't tell us it's supposed to be fun and it's not fun anymore if you're not trying to do anything to make that happen. It's not your job to make it fun for me. That's what people I think sometimes don't understand. And it's not my job to make it fun for you. Sure, when they come to our event, we want to be hospitable and we want to be good hosts. But it's not your job as the host of an event to make me happy at the event. I'm going to go and I'm going to create my own happiness. I'm going to make sure that I get something out of it. Stop expecting everybody else to be responsible for your own happiness at these events. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just that simple. But I hate to see the numbers being down just because. And I think that's a little bit of where people have gotten off base a little bit. I think there's a little bit of the blame game going on, it feels like right now. I think there's a little bit of people finding the easy excuse to say, it's just not fun anymore, or it's just not what it used to be, and it's not da-da-da-da. It's not the host's response. It's not anybody's responsibility to make the event fun for you, but you. Because everybody's going to get something different out of it. And what I get out of an event is not going to be the same thing that you get out of an event. Stop expecting everyone else to be responsible for your own happiness. And I know I'm not talking to everybody out there. I know there's guys that I talk to that come back from an event. If I couldn't make the event, I'd reach out to them. Hey, how was it? How was it? Oh, great, great, great. Numbers were a little bit down, but hey, it didn't matter because that's what I'd like to hear. If the numbers for an event were down and everybody that goes to that event says it didn't matter, great. Yes, the numbers being up would be better for the charity aspect of it, but as long as it's successful, as long as the guys there, as long as people that go are getting something out of it and appreciating the brotherhood that much more, appreciating the charity work and all that, that's great. We don't have to have huge numbers. But it's been noticeable. And I just hope that the reason is not just because guys think that it's just not fun anymore, or just because it's not worthy, or because, any other one of the reasons that we've talked about now. But it's up to you to create your own happiness at these events. And it's up to you to be the responsible person for your chapter and for the brotherhood to go represent others. If you're one of those guys that has never been outside of your own chapter, you have no idea what you're missing. If you have never traveled outside, I want to say outside of your state, because if you're just hanging out with your own chapter and you're appreciating the fact that if you host an event, other people come to your thing, but you never go out of your way to go see somebody else, see how they do an event, to go let them see you coming to their event, you're missing out. And you're missing out of one of the biggest parts of the brotherhood. We are a worldwide brotherhood. Literally, a worldwide brotherhood. And it doesn't mean that you have to stray across the continents to go see some people from across the world. Some guys love to travel and are able to travel and will go across the world, come to this. Rob travels all the time to the States, it seems like. I've tried to get on the calendar to go back over to England this year, and I don't think it's going to happen. Got my daughter's wedding. I would love to go back over and support those guys again this year. I just don't see how I can, unless I win the lottery, I don't see how it's going to happen. But this brotherhood is so big. There is no reason why you can't hop in a car with another brother, split the gas if that's an issue. But there's no reason why you can't go 3-4 hours to another chapter's event outside of your area for a day. For a weekend, it would be best, but even if you can't, for a day. Carpool together and go. Support those who support you. Let that be paramount in your journey. Well, I've rambled on now for over an hour. And I appreciate you guys. I hope that this conversation can continue. I hope that this spurs something on to ask that question about why the numbers seem to be down. And if it's just as simple as it's not fun or lack of support or, any one of those things. These are things that can be fixed. And they're very, very simple to fix. And they fall single-handedly on your shoulders. Each one of us, it falls on us. It is not someone else's responsibility for your happiness and success in this BV journey. You can find a way. You just have to focus on it and just do it. You just have to do it. And I can tell you that the reward that you'll get for going out there and supporting others and enjoying that the support that's reciprocated back to you is tenfold what you're used to from this brotherhood. You just have to get out there and do it. But guys, hey, that's going to do it for me. That's going to wrap up episode 206 of The Heart of a Villain. I want to challenge you guys, as I always do, to be the villain that the world needs you to be, because the heart of a villain never stops beating. Most important words I say every week, right? It's okay not to be okay. If you are hurting, please find a brother to talk to. Remember, it's okay not to be okay. That means you've got to do the work and you've got to talk to someone. Guys, that's going to wrap it. 206. I'll see you back up here again for episode 207 next week. Until then, take care and stay safe.
Always inspired. Chapters connect, and then it's on fire. Check your phone, just BV is like a live wire. They said that we couldn't do it and that another could. Never underestimate the power.